Hi, everyone, and welcome to episode number 8. Hi, Fiona.
Hi guys. Today we're going to be talking about becoming conscious of our thoughts. And this is something that I've been really working on. I know I've read about it a lot over the years, but I'm really trying to put this into practice. And I was thinking about what we could talk about, Rach, and I had all these synchronicities about like our thought processes. So I thought this is what we need to talk about today on this
Awesome.
topic.
Definitely.
Yeah, so I pulled, so part of it was I listened to a podcast, and I really listen to synchronicities now. I find like things just pop up and you're like, okay, I get it. We need to be talking about this.
Definitely.
You've had similar experiences, right, with your
I have
synchronicities?
synchronicities happen to me all the time. So it's like the universe is delivering a message, even if I don't want to hear it the first time, second time, and then by the third time I go, okay, fine.
I get it. And
Yeah,
it's so funny, isn't it? The more you sort of pay attention, the more prevalent they become in your
yeah,
life
for
and they
sure.
sort of come more often.
Yeah.
So the last synchronicity that I had was picking this card for somebody.
Mm-hmm.
And the message that I got through for this person was all around them looking at their beliefs that they have.
Yeah.
Are they like observing those beliefs? Do they believe them to be their truth? Or are they someone else's belief that they've taken on as their own?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think we need to talk about this, Rach, because um, we have all these beliefs in our head, but do we actually ever stop to observe these beliefs and go, is this my truth? Like we just naturally, I think we are programmed to believe all these beliefs about
Yeah.
ourselves. But most of them aren't even relevant for us.
No, and not only that, it's the consciousness, or when we're unconscious, it's just like an automatic behavior. Okay. So when it comes to hands, in any marking on our hand, we have a student path and a master path. Okay. So really what that is unconscious and conscious behavior. That is all it is, because once we're aware of the behavior, okay, then we then have the opportunity to go, okay, now I have the power to do things differently. But prior to that, if you're just doing things automatically in an unconscious state, it's like Groundhog Day. You end up back where you started each time. So yeah, so that is, about becoming aware or conscious of our behavior is huge, game changing.
It is huge. And Eckhart Tolle talks about this, becoming the conscious observer of our behavior. Dr. Joe Dispenza talks about it, like challenging those behaviors because, you know, if we are always going to do what we've always done,
Yeah,
then we're going to get the same. So, in
exactly.
order for us to make change and make that sustained progress that we want to see, it's like every time we have a thought, it's like, okay, is that my truth? Is that a disassociated inner child wound or trauma that
Mm.
happened as a child that I'm now have taken on a belief about myself?
Mm-hmm.
Does that serve me? Well, that's not who I am anymore. You know what? Let's break the pattern of that
Yeah.
thought process.
We spoke about this before we came on. So my mum was a really active person, right? And from the time I was little, she always said to me, and then I had you. I'm like, because I was not active apparently. I didn't even want to walk. And I'm like, okay, well, so I had that conditioning. And I'm not saying that that's not true. However, I feel like inside this vessel is a really honed athlete somewhere. I don't know. I have always felt that. I have always felt that there's a version of me that is really, really healthy and fit and the rest of it. But I'm wondering whether or not, because I listened to someone else's story about me, about not being athletic, whether that stopped that happening. Do you know what I mean? So
Mm,
um, but that's not to say that I can't do that. it's never too late to start doing anything or making changes.
Mm. I feel like I need to chime in on that one with you,
Go
Rach,
for it.
because like I know this is a fairly ingrained thought process for yourself, and I know I've challenged you on it
Yeah,
a few
yeah,
times because you are a generator. You do have the energy to get going and move your
yeah,
body, and as generators, we're meant to.
yeah.
So yeah, that's and I guess that's a perfect example. Like that's something that you probably need to challenge and and um and see whether that's still your reality.
I know it's not my reality because by prioritizing myself going for a walk, I like walking. I like a gentler exercise. So, I'm thinking that maybe the things that I was exposed to as a kid, and that was pretty limited because of where we lived, they just weren't the right things for me. Okay. Now, the sports themselves were quite individual sports, which is great because I do like alone time, but I also like to socialize. So
Mm.
um, Fiona and I, many years ago, used to play in a social soccer team. Now, I'd never played soccer until I was in my 30s. And it was like, I'm like, I love this. This is so much fun. So for me, I enjoyed the sport because it was fun, and I'd go and I'd do the exercise because I didn't want to let my teammates down. So, so I feel if I'd had maybe more of that growing up, my thought process on sport would have been a little bit different.
Mm. That's such a great example around this, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
And something else I wanted to talk about. I know we've sort of discussed about change and doing things
Yeah,
differently and tapping into the wisdom of our body to find our answers. But also we've spoken about feel the fear and do it anyway.
yeah,
So I wanted to touch on that too, Rach, as far as the difference between fear
yeah.
and alignment.
Oh, yes. I'd love for you to give some examples.
Yeah, because it seems a little bit paradoxical, doesn't it, when you say feel the fear and do it anyway,
Yeah.
but tap into the wisdom of your body and make sure it feels right. So,
Yes, yes.
how do you know whether it's the right thing, or how do you know whether it's just the fear that's pulling you back and
Mm,
stopping you from change? Because our primitive brain doesn't want us to change because it goes back to the caveman time where it's not change is not safe. It equals sort of death. So we're still operating from that primitive part. So there is this big pull in our brain to try and keep us where we're at. So yeah, I just wanted to have a little bit more of a discussion around feel the fear and do it anyway versus alignment and making the decisions within your body.
well, and the example is like when people say, "Oh, feel the fear and do it anyway." Like, you don't want to be standing on an edge of a cliff and then going, oh my God, and then jump because they say, oh, I'll do it anyway. It's not that type of fear. It's like the unknown fear of, doing something out of your comfort zone, like leaving a job to start a small business, or, that's fearful because it's like, I don't know, you don't know how it's going to end up. You don't know any of the things, but if you stay in that job, which is safe, you're never not going to know whether that small business is ever going to happen or be successful because you don't try it. So
Mm.
that's the difference of that, feeling the fear and, doing it anyway, or, just doing something stupid.
I can use this as an example. So for me to talk in front, like I thought I was quite a shy person.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm challenging that belief.
Yeah,
And the idea of doing something like this and talking about the woo and, the different topics that I am really love, like astrology and human design and tarot,
yeah,
freaked me out. And that's part of the reason why we did this. And it's like, okay, so that there's a real fear, there's a real
definitely.
resistance.
Yeah.
But when I go into my body, what does my body tell me? Like, is my body like, and it's like, no, you really need to go in that direction because,
Yeah.
that's where the growth is. That's where we need to step out of our comfort zone and grow. And that's within alignment of who you are, not staying shut down and closed off and being the people pleaser that does things because that's what they think other people expect of them.
Mm-hmm. Yes, yes. And that's the thing, isn't it? It's like we know to be, to be successful, we really need to be visible.
Mm.
Okay, personally visible, because we need to be seen. And how do we get clients, or how do people know we even exist if we're not visible? But then there's always, and I'm talking from my own experience, right? So there's an element of a huge element of vulnerability when we're doing that. Okay, so for me to tell parts of my story, I have to be really vulnerable. There's lots of my candles where I put lots of vulnerability into the stories behind them, because it's really important for others to know that they're not the only ones going through those experiences. And I'm creating something because of my experience with it.
And that's a beautiful share, Rach, because I'm sure people see the end product. Rachel, she's got a candle, she's talking about it, she comes across really confidently, but people probably aren't realizing how much you've had to like sift through the resistance and the fear to actually get out there and do that. Like, that's so brave of you to make yourself vulnerable like that. And to really appreciate the steps that you've taken to get there. It just hasn't happened overnight.
Oh, definitely not. But for me, it's like it's greater than me. This is not about me. It's about others that we can help along the way. So, when the fear becomes too much, that's where you have to remove yourself and say, okay, if that wasn't part of my story and I could help someone to move through this, would I still do it? Usually it's an automatic, of course, yes, you sign me up, that type of thing. So we really have to take ourselves out of it occasionally.
Absolutely. I'm just trying to find a card, Rach.
Yeah.
Because this is the energy that you're just discussing, and I'm like, this one's been popping out for me a lot lately. So, and it's probably like right on the bottom.
Go to the last card and see what we've got.
It's on the bottom.
Yeah.
Oh, no. Oh, here you go. The third from the bottom, the fourth from the bottom. The Eight of Pentacles. This energy, like, it's like owning your mastery. And if we don't step out and do it, not only are you limiting yourself, but all those that can have access to your magic, they're not receiving it. So this is like,
exactly.
The selfish thing perhaps would be just to stay the same, but the unselfish thing is to like step into the resistance and own your mastery and share your magic with others.
Exactly. And sometimes just us doing that gives other people, we're role modeling it and we're giving other people permission to do the same for themselves. And they're like, well, geez, if Rachel can do it, or if Fiona can do it, then what's stopping me? And then it just gives them the opportunity to go, well, why am I not doing something that I really want to do or that I love?
Absolutely.
So,
yeah. So I feel like what I'd like everyone who's watching to consider is like, just become the conscious observer of their thoughts, like not to believe every thought that you have, to think about where that thought comes from. Is that a thought that your teacher told you in year 3 that for some reason in your 30s or 40s or 70s, you're still choosing to believe some person's opinion of you when you were 8 years old? Like, challenge it, like, and see whether it still fits for you. And if it doesn't fit, like, get rid of that thought, but become really conscious of those thoughts. And meditation's really a good one for this too, because meditation, obviously the thoughts come in, but it helps us just be a little bit more detached from our thoughts, so we're able to go like view our thoughts, because a lot of it happens so unconsciously, Rach. Like, we've got all these thoughts coming in, we're not aware of them. So when we meditate, we slow things down. That's where we can go, oh wow, like, I didn't realize that programming was operating in the background. Like, I really need to become more aware of that and do some work there and some releasement. So I think when we start operating like that, we can make some pretty big shifts.
Oh, definitely. And once we become aware of a behavior or conscious of a behavior or a belief or anything else, it's not going to change straight away. There's going to be different, we're going to work along a scale pretty much. The first thing is to become aware of it. Okay. Then the next thing is you might actually, I'm going to speak hands here. So a behavior, right? So you want to change your behavior and you know what? You're just losing your shit. Okay. And you've decided, oh, that's the student path of such and such, right? Okay. So I don't want to do that anymore. So first is to become aware of that. Then the second thing is you might then lose your shit again, okay? And then go, oh my God, I was on the student path of, my school of love. Sorry, my puppy's howling in the background.
But don't shame yourself through that process, Rach. Like, I feel like there's a gentleness needed through that process. Don't go,
$1,000,000,000.
how stupid was I not to have noticed this before, blah, blah, blah. It's like, okay, like just be really gentle. Like treat yourself like that little 5-year-old version of yourself. Like just be beautiful with yourself through that process.
But the thing is, you can then go, you're aware of your behavior. Even though you've done it again, you're aware of it, and then you can go and apologize to whoever you've just lost your shit at and go, I'm really sorry. I didn't mean that against you. That was just me trying to deal with whatever it was, right? So you take responsibility for your behavior, basically. Then the next time, it might happen when you're in the middle of it. Okay, so you're like, whoa, here I am again. Whoa, I said I wasn't going to do this anymore. Whoa, deep breath. How can I change it? You will get to a stage where before you go and lose it, you'll go, okay, I know there's a different way of doing this, and I'm going to try that now. But it's a process. Okay, it doesn't go from being aware to being the master. It's you will it will take time for you to get to that through that process, but it will happen because it's like anything else.
Yeah, and like as Joe Dispenza talks about the neural pathways in the brain, like each time we disrupt one of those, because our thought processes become like, if you think like a track through the bush or the sand, like it's a well-worn track.
Yeah.
And it's a natural process. You don't think, it just happens. But every time you disrupt one of those thought processes, that track becomes a little bit less ingrained.
Yes.
It's just reduced. And if we can reduce it, maybe we won't catch it every time, but if we just catch it one out of 10 times, like that's just going to disrupt that neural pathway and start to create other neural pathways, which is more of our truth. It's like, okay, well, not this, it's this.
Yeah.
And I love this card too, Rach. You can sort of see the eight of swords is where you're waking up to going, oh, okay, so all this is actually in my mind, this, and she's not held. It's like
it's self-imposed almost. It's like
it's self-imposed.
There's not really blindfold, there's not really hands bound. It's just that's what I'm imagining it. Yeah.
So it's your decision. Do you stay stuck, or do you make the changes?
Beautiful.
So
I love it.
Beautiful.
Well, everyone, let's become conscious of all our behavior and our thoughts and see if we can create a life that we really want, because that's what it's all about.
Absolutely. Awesome. Well, thanks everyone for joining us,
and we'll see you next week.
Bye.